Hey, everybody checking out the Mike and JD Show YouTube channel. Thank you for watching this video. If you could do me a huge favor and hit that like button, make sure you're a subscriber, and also comment on this video and help us defeat the algorithm. I would greatly appreciate it. And while you're at it, if you like this video, head over to patreon.com/the Mike and JD Show and become a Patreon subscriber today, where you will get this audio immediately as soon as it's done recorded, way ahead of everybody else. And then, of course, it will be ad free. Thank you very much. Now enjoy the video. On Countdown to Emergence, Mike Bailey defeated Alan Angels, and you might be questioning, why would you have Mike Bailey on the pre-show? Well, because you want Mike Bailey on the show. And you know, he's not really in a program right now, but I get the feeling come Bound for Glory, he's going to be in one of the top matches. So, you know what? Actually, before we get started on the next match, I got to say, the production of this show was beyond reprehensible. It was lazy. It was cheap. It was bullshit. It sucked. The Rebel nightclub in Toronto is the absolute nicest venue that Impact runs, and they somehow made it look like it was a cheap bar. The lighting was beyond horrendous. And I talked to some folks that are in the know on how to actually do the lighting, and there was an issue with the screens. It wasn't anything like that. They just didn't have enough lights around the ring. So there were dark shadows all over the place. There were black spots. And it just looked really bad. It looked dingy. It looked indie. And this is an upscale venue. And it's my favorite one that Impact runs. And they somehow made it look like trash. This is an embarrassment. Like, I don't know how they can make it look so bad. It was borderline unwatchable at times. I think by the middle of the show, they kind of had some of the kinks ironed out, but you got to get that shit straight before you go live. If you're a professional organization, and I'm starting to question whether or not this company is actually ran by professionals with how bad this looked. This was trash. They got to get their shit together. They're $1 billion company, or at least they're owned by one, and they look like this. It's embarrassing. But at least they have good wrestlers signed to their promotion. They don't have good production engineers. They have good wrestlers. Speaking of which, Joe Hendry and Yu Amora defeated the Good Hand Jobbers, Jason Hotch and John Schuyler. Hendry and Yu Amora, they're called Joya. So there you go. Because they won their first match and they're undefeated, they're likely to get a tag team title shot, because the only thing you need to do to get a tag team title shot in this promotion is to A, be a tag team, and B, you actually don't even need to have at least one win, because Subculture went 0-2 and then they got an immediate title shot and won the title. So I get the feeling Joe is coming up. Yu Amora, hey, brother, you look a little comfortable. I'm not going to comment on another man's weight, but I'm just saying you were much more chiseled when you got here on your excursion, and now that it appears you're signed here, you're starting to fit in with Eddie Edwards and Sami Callihan a little too much, brother. Look a little soft. First match of the show, of the main show anyway, was a no disqualification match with Eric Young defeating Diener with the Big Con himself, Big Con. This match was fine. It was a plunder match. It was a no DQ match, which, you know, you were going to get trash cans and lids, and they actually brought out a barbed wire board at one point. Eric Young had Big Con and Diener on his back at one point and did a Death Valley driver onto the barbed wire board, which looked pretty brutal to me. But he was able to withstand all of the interference from Con. I guess the brother's got no friends. And he was able to get the victory over Diener. So the match was fine. Not a classic by any stretch of the imagination. A little tribute to Terry Funk and Wyndham on Eric Young's mask, which I had anticipated he would do. So good stuff there. I hope this is the end of this feud, and I hope this is the end of the whole design thing, because the thing just hasn't worked from the beginning. And next we go to the Impact Knockouts Tag Team Championship match. MK Ultra defeat Gisele Shaw and Savannah Evans, the Death Dollz, and Jody Threat and KiLynn King. So before the match took place, or I guess earlier in the day, it had come out that Taylor Wilde had been assaulted backstage before the show started, and she was out of the match, and that Jody Threat would be taking her place. I like Threat and King as a tag team. I find that to be far more interesting than Taylor Wilde and KiLynn King. If they could do something with these two as a team and maybe Taylor being their manager, I think they might have something. If they scale back on the witchy poo gimmicky type of stuff and they're like a couple of badass chicks, I think they got something, and I would like to see them have like a legit title match with MK Ultra. I would be into that. Let them just go fucking hog wild and beat the shit out of each other. The four badass ladies in a fight. Give it to me. Stick it in my veins. This was okay. I'm not a big fan of the four ways, but everybody worked pretty hard, and the right team won. I don't think it's time to take the belts off of MK Ultra just yet. Next, we go to the Impact Digital Media Championship. Kenny King with Sheldon Jean defeated Johnny Swinger. They actually had a real match. I figured this would be about a minute and a half. And I don't know how long they went, probably 6-7 minutes, but they actually did a full match. At one point, Swinger did a flip dive over the rope, and his whole ass landed on Kenny King's head. Poor guy. But with Sheldon Jean's help, Kenny King was able to defeat Swinger. I don't know how great it makes look King to cheat to beat Johnny Swinger, but Johnny Swinger was in there fighting for his life. Like, this was the biggest match of his career, which I think that was the story of the match. Like, he's a complete joke, but he's going to turn it on tonight, daddy. And the Swingman came up short, but he had a fun little match with Kenny King. Afterwards, they were beating down Swinger, and Tommy Dreamer came down, and Kenny King attacked him. So I get the feeling that's where we're going next, probably a Victory Road. Maybe Kenny King goes through a bunch of washed-up guys as part of his digital media title run. Next up, my match of the night, and I know this is going to be controversial to some because I know that the other folks had already DM'd me what their match of the night was, and mine is different. The Rascalz, Zachary, Wentz, and Trey Miguel defeated Subculture of Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster. I thought this match was tremendous, and it was exactly what I wanted it to be. The Rascalz did cheat in the end, but damn, like, it was like tons of awesome moves and the kickouts, and I don't think we could have asked for a better match. And I think that if this were on All In, everybody would be talking about it. But because it was in a dingy little bar, well, at least what appears to be a dingy little bar based off of the lighting and the darkness and the shadows, it's probably not going to get a lot of fanfare. But I remember immediately after I watched it, I went to the Voices of Wrestling Slack and told all the other media guys there, like, hey guys, this is a match you need to go out of your way to see. And I hope everybody takes me up on that or takes that suggestion to heart, because I thought this match was tremendous. They got something with Wentz and Miguel. I think the Rascalz work, man. I really like this team, and I like them being the heel champions, and I hope they keep the titles for a while. They have something with the Rascalz. That's not to say that they didn't have something with Subculture, but I feel like the Rascalz, as far as charisma go, they're on another level. And I could see at Bound for Glory doing the Rascalz versus ABC and them having a better match than what we saw here, which would be difficult because this match was tremendously good. So good match. Everybody go out of your way to check this one out. If you have not watched it or you're not a subscriber to the Impact Plus or Impact Ultimate Insiders, I would strongly suggest you go out of your way to go check this one out. Next up, we had the back to school match with Frankie Kazarian defeating Eddie Edwards. This was fine. I didn't care for it for the most part. I don't like that they had a taped cinematic match in front of a live audience, right? Like, they just, like, the people there that bought tickets have to go and watch TV for a match. I just don't care for that stuff, even though I'm not there. Like, it doesn't affect me. But the fact that I knew that there was a live audience there just kind of annoyed me. And then, like, it started off with super slow-mo melodramatic, bullshit with Eddie Edwards walking into the Killer Kowalski school, looking at all the old pictures. And then eventually they get to the match. And then when these guys actually have a match, it's good. It's because these guys are two of the best workers in the entire promotion. So I really dug that part. And then, of course, they ended it with more melodrama. Alicia Edwards gets involved in distraction, and Eddie Edwards defeats Frankie Kazarian. Although I think on Fightful it says that Kazarian won, but Eddie Edwards got the victory. And then after the match was over, they attacked Kazarian again. So it looks like we're getting ready for another match here. I think we need to end this one, guys. If they're going to do another match at Victory Road, let's hope it's the blow off, because I think I'm about done. Also, during the beatdown, Eddie Edwards grabbed a picture of Killer Kowalski, a framed one, and broke it over the face of Kazarian. So, yeah, they're really trying to tug on the heartstrings here, but I just don't know that it's working for everybody. At least it's not working for me. And if it's working for you, that's fine. It just does not work for me. My second match of the night was Sonata defeating Jake Something. During my preview, I said that this was going to be a match designed to showcase Jake Something to a bigger audience, showcase him to a Japanese audience, and for everybody to see Jake Something hang with the IWGP champion. That's exactly what this was. It was perfect. It wasn't 5 stars. You're not going to get that with Sonata. He's not a 5-star guy, but he's a very good worker. And these guys had a really good wrestling match. I really, really enjoyed it. They made Jake Something look like a star. They beat him and still put him over at the same time. And at the end of it, the two shook hands. And it was, their way of saying that Something is on the level of the top star of New Japan, even though we all know for a fact that Sonata is not the top star, but he holds the title. I thought this was great. It was much better than what AEW did with Sonata when they brought him to wrestle Jungle Boy. I did not like that at all. I didn't like the matchup going into it. I didn't like the match. And then, of course, they did the post-match angle with Hook. I just thought the whole thing was trash. Here, this is exactly what you do. You bring in the big world champion from outside your promotion. You put him with one of your guys, and you beat him, but you make him look good in a defeat. That's old school shit. They did a great job. Excellent, excellent stuff here. Another match that I strongly urge you guys to go out of your way to check out. Next up, we had an 8-man tag. You had Moose, Brian Myers, Bulky Ray, and Leo Rush defeating Josh Alexander and Time Machine of Kushida, Sabin, and Shelley. Man, this one dragged early on. I would say like the first 75% of this match was kind of dull, to be honest with you. But then they kicked into a next gear. Everybody started hitting their moves, and it was, got fast paced. Crowd got into it. And then at one point, Brian Myers elbow dropped the referee, and then everybody started going ham. And the next thing you know, PCO comes out. PCO goes to attack Bully Ray, and then Bully Ray, Myers, and Moose did the triple powerbomb vis-a-vis the Shield off the stage through a table, and PCO no-sold it. PCO's so over. He's so great. The crowd just loves this guy. I don't know how you can't be a fan of pro wrestling and not be a fan of PCO. I just love everything the guy does. He's ridiculous, but he is the right kind of ridiculous. He is a throwback, and I really love this character. But when he no-sold it, that scared the shit out of Bulky. Bulky takes off, and then we think that Josh Alexander is going to get a finish here. Or Josh Alexander, I think he went to go chase Bully, and then he gets attacked by Steve Macklin. Yeah, that's what happened. He went to go chase Bully. He got stopped by Steve Macklin. So Macklin returned here and then attacked Josh Alexander, which is kind of cool because they were supposed to wrestle at the Rebel nightclub back in April. That was the main event of Rebellion. But Alexander got hurt, and then Macklin won the title, and then Macklin got hurt. So it looks like they're probably going to be doing the match at Victory Road. More on that later. But he attacked him, and then the security came and stopped him. This was like 10 minutes. And then all of a sudden, the referee comes back to life. Referee missed all of this. They should have just made it no holds barred or whatever. But then the referee all of a sudden comes back to life. He was in a coma from a single elbow drop earlier. And at some point during the match, or towards the end, Alexander and Alex Shelley bump into each other. Like Alexander gets pushed into Shelley, knocking Shelley down. And Shelley did the old school, oh, you must have done that on purpose, when it was clearly an accident. And so they get into an argument. Shelley leaves the ring. And while Alexander's distracted by Shelley, Moose hits the spear, pins Alexander 1, 2, 3. Okay. A lot of people are going to have a problem with this, and I don't, and I'll tell you why. We're still going to get to Alex Shelley and Josh Alexander. What we're also going to get, and I don't know this for a fact, and by the time you hear this, new details may have emerged already. Because he won and he defeated Alexander, I get the feeling that the title match for Victory Road will be Alex Shelley versus Moose. Moose just resigned, and I'm sure they want to put him in some bigger matches. So I think this was the setup to get to that match. But we're also still setting up the Alexander-Alex Shelley match. Alexander never lost the title. He was distracted in this match, and therefore it doesn't really make him look bad. It's, no big deal. So I like what they did. I'm typically not a fan of your top guy, taking 6 months off or 4 months off and then coming back and losing immediately. But the way that they did it, I think was pretty smart. Nobody looks bad in this situation. I didn't really hate this match. I thought it was boring early on, but then what they did is they set up 4 different angles. They set up Alex Shelley and Josh Alexander for Bound for Glory. They set up Josh Alexander and Steve Macklin for Victory Road. They set up Alex Shelley versus Moose for Victory Road. And they also set up PCO versus Bully for either Victory Road or Bound for Glory. My guess is that it'll be Victory Road because the White Plains, that arena there in White Plains is very big, and I think they want to go all out. Plus, you got Impact 1000 in the same venue the next night, and I think they would like to just go ham for that. And I appreciate that. So I appreciate what they did here. And plus, I pop every time I see PCO, so I love them. And then we get to the main event. It's a Trinity defeating Deonna Purrazzo. I think the air got let out of the room a little bit during the previous match because it was gimmick after gimmick after gimmick and twist and turn and all the stuff. But I felt like the match was okay. You're not, much like Sonata, and Sonata's much better than Trinity. Trinity is not like the greatest main event worker, but she's a great character. The people love her. She's got an audience. And so that's just what you're going to get with Trinity. You're not going to get these classic matches. And Deonna did her best to carry her. And I felt like the match was pretty good by the end of it. It wasn't a great match. I thought their Slammiversary match was better. But, Trinity as a worker, she's not going to give you those top tier matches. But I dug it. I dug Gail Kim being on commentary. I dug Jade Chung being the announcer. I thought it was kind of cool. And then, of course, they announced Jordynne Grace at the beginning of it. So lots of things to look forward to in the Knockouts division. But if you're coming here looking for 5-star matches for your women's title programs, you're not going to get that. And I think that's okay because they're going to make up for it in the men's division. But if they're able to bring over like Julia and some of these other Stardom ladies, you might get there. But as long as Trinity is the champion, you're not going to get there. I'll tell you one thing we're not going to get: Trinity versus Mercedes Moné, because she's all elite. She was at All In. They showed her twice on the screen, so it's almost a guarantee that she signed there, or at least she has some type of deal. So I doubt that we'll ever get Mercedes in this promotion. Where that leaves Deonna Purrazzo, I don't know. I know her contract's coming up. They're clearly willing to pay for her, so I hope that they do. Where we go next for Trinity, man, I don't know that either. I wish I did know that. Who's she supposed to wrestle at Bound for Glory? Could it be Jordynne Grace? Yeah, I could see that. I don't know how, they have never wrestled before, so it's a pretty fresh matchup. It's not really a fresh star, though, because Jordynne Grace has been here for 5 years. So she only took a couple of months off, but now she's back. Maybe Mickie James. Maybe they do that. I don't know. Mickie was in England over the weekend, and she worked at Rev Pro, so she's healthy. I'm surprised she hasn't been back since then. I get the feeling we'll see her at Impact 1000, and maybe that'll lead into a match with Trinity at Bound for Glory. I don't know, man. They can go many different ways. But overall, despite the poor production, the piss poor production, the embarrassing production, I felt like Emergence was a pretty quality show that if you were to watch, you'd feel pretty good that you watched it. Nothing too crazy. No 5-star matches, although I feel like Rascalz and Subculture got pretty damn close. Depending on who you ask, I don't really like to rate matches, but I think that's the only The only way people can quantify how good something is to put a number on it, as JD said on the JD project earlier today. But hey, guys, we will be back with the Mike and JD show this coming up Thursday night. Tell your friends to subscribe. Tell them that you enjoy the content that you're hearing here. Tell us what you want to hear. Give us your likes and dislikes. Give us a big thumbs up and throw a comment down. And until next time, mahalo.